This is why you love being an NFL fan. This is why you hate being an NFL fan. The Rams put us through all the emotions. So proud for overcoming so much, all to lose it all late. We'll talk about the heartbreaking overtime loss for our Rams to the Lions on Sunday Night Football on tonight's edition of the Locked On Rams Postcast right now.
You are Locked On Rams Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, Ramley, and welcome to the first regular season edition of the Locked On Rams Postcast, coming at you live on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel and after the fact, wherever you get the Locked On Rams podcast feed. And oh my goodness, an absolute heartbreaker. There's no other word to describe this one. The Rams fall to the Lions in overtime on Sunday Night Football in the season opener, in the rematch of last year's playoff game. 26-22, the Detroit Lions. This Rams team overcame so much. Offensive line injuries everywhere. Puka Nacua leaves this game, and we all hope and pray that it is not as serious as it looked. And despite all of that, despite being down 17-3, despite this game feeling over, despite there being no way that even Sean McVay could manage to lead, multiple drives, to score multiple touchdowns, with the O-line issues, with Nacua out, with that stadium absolutely rocking. And somehow, some way, the Rams not only come all the way back, they take the lead late and look like they are going to steal a season-opening win, all to lose it all. A field goal late sends this one to overtime, and then the Lions absolutely run down the Rams' necks in overtime to win 26-20, a absolutely brutal loss for our Rams. If you don't know who I am, my name is Gavin Carlson. I spent the last 4 years as a credentialed journalist in the LA area, specifically covering UCLA football and basketball with the Daily Bruin. I am now a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. If you don't know what a Locked On Rams Postcast is, it is the place to be after every single Rams game, a post-game show live here on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel after every single Rams game. And man, oh man, the Rams gave me an absolute doozy to talk about in the debut of the regular season postcasts. Before we jump into this one, where we will discuss a really encouraging game, let's be honest, despite the loss, it feels like there's a lot to be proud about. And I don't want to be Mr. Moral Victories. That is not me. But looking at what that O-line looked like, knowing that is not the O-line that we will see throughout most of the season in terms of personnel, in terms of injuries, despite the O-line being so bad that it could have easily turned this into a blowout loss, the Rams somehow should have won this game multiple times. They outplayed the Lions. They absolutely did. It is a brutal loss. So we will talk about the offense. We'll talk about the defense because, people are going to look at this game and go, well, you gave up the field goal late and you gave up the touchdown drive in overtime. This defense was phenomenal. It absolutely exceeded expectations until those last couple of drives that end up losing you the game. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about McVay, Matthew Stafford, what I call the M&M. McVay, Matthew, and motion. It was on point. Cooper Kupp looking like his old self, but also Puka Nacua is hurt, and it's heartbreaking, and we'll discuss it all. But before we talk about all of that, a quick shout out to the sponsor of today's postcast. It is Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Shout out to everybody in here. I know it's late. It's already late with it being Sunday Night Football. It's even later with this game going to overtime. And I know there's a lot of heartbroken souls in this chat watching this right now. I am a heartbroken soul. This one hurts, man. There's no other way to put it. All of the talk coming into this one, it's a rematch. We know what the Lions did to us in the playoffs. We know that Matthew Stafford is going to get some boos coming back to his old place once again. We know that Aaron Donald's retired. That's all anybody in the national media wants to talk about, is that Aaron Donald is retired. And then we come into this game, and the O-line is non-existent. And everyone's like, okay, well, the O-line looks bad. The defense isn't going to be the same without Aaron Donald. The Rams are screwed. No. The Rams fall behind 17-3. They come all the way back and send this one into overtime. And where we start We will get into a couple things that I thought the Rams, a couple missed opportunities. Stafford throws a huge interception in the red zone. The Rams also go for it early on a 4th down instead of taking a field goal to go up 6-3. That really made me angry. But we have to start with how this game ended, right? There's no other way to talk about this one because the Rams go up and you're like, somehow, some way, like I keep saying, the Rams are ahead in this game late. Cooper Kupp gets a 9-yard touchdown pass from Matthew Stafford. Cooper Kupp looked like his old self. Absolutely. That toe drag on the sideline, unbelievable. A couple difficult catches. I know he wasn't able to make the catch on that 4th down way early in the game. I know there was a couple times that things didn't work out perfectly, but for the most part, absolutely, Cooper Kupp looked fantastic. He had to overcome the absence of Puka Nacua. 14 catches, 110 yards, and the touchdown right here with 4 minutes and 30 seconds left to put the Rams up 20-17. You're feeling great. I mean, absolutely you're feeling great because there's no way, Jose, that the Rams are winning this game. And when it was 17-3, I was ready to say, oh man, frustrating loss. We're going to get blown out, but it's okay. As long as Puka's okay, we know that this is what the Rams team are going to see. A lot of injuries, O-line, all that. Tough season opener. You're in Detroit with all the expectations for them on Sunday Night Football. The NFL set us up to lose this game. And then the O-line is the way it is. And then Puka Nacua goes out. And you're up 20-17. I mean, an absolute magnificent couple of drives from Matthew Stafford. Some of the throws. He had that throw where he was getting hit and he couldn't even see where he was throwing the ball. And he completed a 1st down completion to, I believe, Demarcus Robinson. He had another one where he gave us that patented Matthew Stafford no look. And not just, sometimes, hey, I love Patrick Mahomes. I call me crazy. I think he's unbelievable. I think most people agree with that. But sometimes when Matthew Stafford does, or when Patrick Mahomes does the no looks and stuff, it is just flashy. When Matthew Stafford does it, it's in the Super Bowl to beat the Bengals, and then it's in a play like this on a 3rd down, has to step up in the pocket, looks to his right, sees that there's a linebacker in zone coverage who has to pick between the flat route and the crosser. He looks towards the flat, throws it to the crosser. It's unbelievable. I know Matthew Stafford had an awful interception in the red zone. I know with 20 seconds left, he throws what probably should have been a game-losing interception if Carlton Davis is able to make the interception catch. I know there was another drop pick by that rookie or second-year guy out of I don't know what I just did there, out of Alabama for the Detroit Lions. But Matthew Stafford was phenomenal for most of this game, despite everything he had to overcome. And Sean McVay, too. One thing I thought was really interesting, and I'll say this quickly and then get to the recap. I want to quickly say what happened in the 4th quarter, say what happened in overtime, and then give you more of my thoughts. But one thing I really love from Sean McVay, we know the mastermind he is, and boy, how fun was this to watch Sean McVay going up against Ben Johnson, 2 of the best offensive minds in the game of football, motions everywhere, absolutely great game to watch as a fan, especially as a fan of strategic offensive football. Sean McVay comes out early, and he's going quick passes. Matthew Stafford, his quickest snap to throw time frame since like 2016, they said. He was snapping the ball and instantly throwing it because Sean McVay knew. We got in whole line. And this was before some of the injuries that ended us having Bo Limmer, a 6th-round pick at center in an NFL game in his debut because of some of the injuries, right? But McVay comes out 5 wide. Quick throws, occasional pistol, but mainly 5 wide, quick throws. It's working. It's working way better than it should with having no offensive line. The Lions adjust. They say, okay, we're not going to let you make those quick throws anymore. The Rams have a period where they struggle with that. Then if the Lions are able to rush 4 and press up on your receivers, it's hard, right? There's no quick throw option. And then the second Matthew Stafford has to look to his second read, he's about to get sacked because the O-line is a bunch of 3rd stringers. But McVay then adjusts. He says, okay, we're going to get creative. We're going to bring that pistol in again. We're going to have wide receivers tight. You saw them able to get the run game going with Cooper Kupp, with Jordan Whittington sometimes, with Demarcus Robinson, making blocks, with Tyler Johnson, making blocks as wide receivers, chipping the pass rushers. And it was working. And Matthew Stafford, it wasn't instant quick throws every time like it was early in the first half, but it was some great, accurate balls right where you need to be. Cooper Kupp obviously was great in this one. A couple huge plays. How about Tyler Johnson, that 63-yarder? When that's happening, I'm saying, oh my goodness, the Rams might somehow win this game. Colby Parkinson was actually great at tight end too. 4 for 47 for him. Tyler Johnson, 5 for 79. We said Cooper Kupp had his 14 for 110. It took us some time, but we got Kyron Williams going, 18 for 50 and the touchdown. But at the end of the day, you do all that. Like, with all that being said, you're not able to hold the Lions late. It's absolutely heartbreaking. Fourth quarter, you go up, like I said, with 4:30 to go, 20-17. And then the Lions, they have 4 minutes, right? They have plenty of time. And I think some people are going, including myself, the Rams defense has exceeded expectations all game. Oh no, the Lions, I'm blanking, have enough time to go do something. There's 2 back-to-back punts. Lions punt. You think they got the Rams defense already won the game. Then the Rams have an opportunity to put this one away late, have a 2-minute drill. They're not able to do it. They give the Lions a minute 54, down by 3, to try to at least tie or win this game. And the Lions go all the way down. There's actually a couple plays where maybe the Lions could have won this one. I believe Jahmyr Gibbs, this is where he slipped and had what would have been maybe a touchdown if he didn't trip. A crazy end to this game. At the end of the day, you hold them to 3. You almost, like I said, throw an interception, Matthew Stafford, with 20 seconds left, when you probably, knowing how bad your O-line is, should just take the knee and go to overtime anyway. And then in overtime, we know how much the NFL has tried to, mess with the overtime rules. I totally am in favor of the recent changes of not having a field goal win the game. Obviously, with the way offenses play nowadays, that was stupid. But does this type of game make you think, maybe the NFL, they're getting creative with the kickoffs? I love that. I have been the proponent. I'm the biggest advocate, and I know this is a hot take. I think the college has it perfect. How much better would this ending have been? Not only, the NFL is 2 things. It is the professional football league of the world, of course. So, of course, competitive football is the number one priority. But it's also the number one form of entertainment in the country, right? They always, 98 of the 100 most watched streams last year or whatever were the NFL. I feel like having the college overtime rules checks both boxes. Sometimes a rule change feels a little gimmicky. Maybe it's only for entertainment. Like I'm saying, or maybe it is only for competition. I feel like the college overtime rules, they check both boxes. In terms of entertainment, I mean, what would you rather see? The Lions run the ball 8 times to David Montgomery and win the game on a touchdown? Or would you rather see Goff go and then Stafford go and then Stafford go and then Goff go? And not to mention McVay versus Ben Johnson, back to McVay, back to Ben Johnson, would have been absolutely phenomenal. I know we heard this debate with Mahomes versus Allen. I think this is another example of, I would have much rather, and this is not just me being a salty Rams fan because the Rams lost the game. If you're a Lions fan, you're sitting there going, man, we got lucky that we won the toss, because if the Rams won the toss, they probably would have done the same thing and we would have been salty. So in terms of the entertainment factor, it's a no-brainer. Stafford, Goff, McVay, Ben Johnson, back and forth a couple times in the red zone when the red zone was deciding this game too. I thought it would have been, I think it would have been, or would be better. And then the competition factor too. It's just more fair if both teams have an opportunity. I know that you have to score a touchdown now, but still, the NFL clearly doesn't care about, making games too long and making seasons too long. They just sent 2 teams to Brazil to open the season on a field that you couldn't even run on without slipping. Okay, so they don't really care about player safety. Don't use that as an excuse to say we can't have overtimes last too long. They don't care. I mean, look what college football did. They said, okay, sometimes we're having games that are going into 4 or 5 overtimes. That's getting ridiculous. They add the 2-point conversion rule. I think it's perfect in college football, right? The NFL just sent people to Brazil. They don't care about that. They keep trying to add more and more games in this regular season. So they want as much football as possible. You might as well have Stafford and Goff going back to back instead of just having the Lions run the ball up the middle 10 times right down the Rams' neck. And I don't want this to make it seem like I'm making excuses or deflecting. At the end of the day, the Rams defense exceeded expectations all night. They were fantastic. Linebackers flying around. Jared Verse, Braden Fisk getting in the backfield. Quentin Lake was phenomenal. We know Tre'Davious White got burned badly. But there's no way that you don't leave this game before the last drive of the fourth quarter going, the Rams defense looks way better than we expected. Way better, right? There's no way you don't say that. And so this is not me being a salty Rams fan and talking about the overtime rules and why I think it would be great to be changed. I'm going to be honest with you all year long, okay? Some of you don't know who I am. A lot of you don't. Some people do because of the Angels postcast, because of the UCLA postcast. Some of you don't. I am honest. I am as brutally honest as could be. I am a firm believer that the overtime rule is better in college football. And that's not just me saying it because of how this game went. That is me thinking that my entire life, right? And so it would have been great. At the end of the day, that's not the world we live in. And at the end of the day, the Rams defense wasn't good enough late. As great as they were all game, and like I was saying, even with the 26-20 loss, I think you say the Rams defense exceeded expectations. But overtime, it looked like there was no defense there. I mean, the Lions started beautifully, an end around to Khalif Raymond for 12 yards. That's just Ben Johnson being a genius. And then David Montgomery for 21 yards. David Montgomery for 9 yards. A quick Jahmyr Gibbs pass for 10 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs for 3. Montgomery for 6. Montgomery for 8. And then Montgomery for 1. They ran down our necks, right? There was no resistance. There wasn't even an incomplete pass in overtime. There wasn't even a negative play. The worst play of the whole drive was a 3-yard run for Jahmyr Gibbs. Other than that, everything was at least 6 yards. Most of the time, 8, 9, 10, 21, 12. Defense wasn't good enough in overtime. It wasn't good enough to hold the Lions. But at the end, in the end of the fourth quarter, but at the end of the day, they held them to 3 there too. So it's hard to be frustrated at the Rams in this game. There are some things earlier on that kind of may have changed this game. We'll talk more about the McVay decision to go for it on fourth down early on. I thought that wasn't great. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's just a heartbreaking loss. And it doesn't leave me being any less confident for the season. If anything, if the Rams would have won this game, I'm saying, wow, the Rams, we might challenge the Niners for the division because we don't even have an offensive line yet, and we just beat the Lions in their place on Sunday Night Football in the rematch, in front of the whole world, right? So I'm not going to be too negative here. I'm supposed to do 10-minute segments. I'm already 17 minutes in. I got a lot to say about this one. It was an overtime game. It was an unbelievable game. I'm going to take my first break here. When I come back, I want to talk a little bit more about what the offense was able to do overcoming some of those issues, but also some of the mistakes that, you sometimes you forget about the early mistakes. There were some mistakes early in this game, the Stafford pick, the McVay decision, that cost the Rams this game. So we'll get to all of that and more on this first ever regular season edition of the Locked On Rams Postcast. We'll be right back. Now, today's show, once again, is brought to you by Prize Picks. Did you know that right now, in the month of September, one Caleb Williams passing yard gets you one win on Prize Picks every week in September? That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal on Prize Picks because it's gone when September ends. If you don't know what Prize Picks is, it's America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports because unlike other apps where you got to go against all these people and their algorithms and linear regression and AI lineups and all that, no. On Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks on Prize Picks. It's the best way to get action on sports in most states. When I'm in California, most Rams fans are. Obviously, there's no sports betting in California, but you can still use Prize Picks, right? It's a different type of thing. So it's the best way to get action in states like California, Texas, Georgia, others, where that other option isn't available. Right now, download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNFL on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need a win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. And today's show is also brought to you by BetterHelp. Now, this show is brought to you by BetterHelp, and kids are always learning and growing, but as adults, sometimes we lose that curiosity. What's something you'd like to learn? Gardening, a new language, or maybe how to finally beat your best friend in bowling? For me, it's golf. I want to get better at golf. I used to play a lot in high school. It's something I want to start doing again as I'm becoming a true adult. Regardless of what it is, therapy can help you reconnect with your sense of wonder because your back to school era can come at any age. And I love hearing that as a recent UCLA grad just a couple months ago. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. BetterHelp. It's great. You should use it. Back here live on a frustrated, heartbroken edition of the Locked On Rams Postcast. I'm Gavin Carlson, and the Rams fall 26-20 in overtime after an unbelievable game. I mean, like I said in the intro, this is why you love football. This game coming into it was everything. The rematch, Goff, Stafford, McVay, Ben Johnson, no Aaron Donald, new look defense for the Rams. Is this the year the Lions do the unthinkable and make it to the Super Bowl, overcome their poor NFC championship collapse? And this game lived up to the hype. Despite it being a little more low scoring than people might have expected coming into this one. I mean, the Rams controlled this game. Neither team had that many drives, that many opportunities. It was long, slow, methodical drives. And that takes me to some of the turning points in this game early on. I tweeted, and if you don't follow me, at Gavin Carlson on X or Twitter, it's right there. Like I was saying, in the first half, not a lot of big plays, two evenly matched teams. So what does it usually come down to? Turnovers and red zone execution. And what killed the Rams in the first half? A turnover in the red zone and a fourth down attempt in the red zone. So basically two turnovers in the red zone where you're tied 3-3. And if both of those end up being field goals, you're up 9-3. If one of them you convert the fourth down or Stafford doesn't throw the pick, you're up 10-3, you're up 13-3. You know, obviously you go into the half down, and the Rams were the better team in the first half by every metric. Better in terms of total yards, better in terms of overcoming stuff. I mean, the O-line was brutal. They were still outplaying the Lions. The Lions had a couple big plays, and the big turning point early on that ironically didn't matter at the end of the game, but early on, the fact that the Rams go for the fourth down and don't get it. And then the next play, the Lions go Jameson Williams, big play, end up having a big long drive, scoring a touchdown. That's a huge turning point. They and the Rams, at the end of the half, do all that work to get in the red zone, all to have Stafford throw a pick in the end zone. Brutal. You should be up at half. And of course, if the Rams end up making this huge comeback from 17-3 and win the game, then, hey, we'll take it. Who cares what happened in the first half? We won the game. But when you end up losing the game, even though, once again, it is not a loss that I'm going to be upset about in terms of everything we have to overcome, now, because you lost, you have to talk about what happened in the first and second quarters, and it wasn't good enough in terms of those key plays in the red zone. A couple other turning points. I mean, the one that people will forget, but arguably was about as big as it gets, was the holding penalty inside, like, literally at the 1 yard line. Jordan Whittington, who, if you watched my Rams postcast during the preseason, we were raving. He was the player of the preseason for the Rams, and he was great in the preseason. He didn't get a lot of opportunities today, not surprising, even with Puka Nacua getting out, then maybe a little bit surprising, but he did get an opportunity. It was first and goal at the 1. At this point, it's the fourth quarter. If you don't know where we're at in this one, it's the fourth quarter, and the Rams are down 17-10. They need a touchdown to go ahead or to tie this game. And they have a nice drive. They get all the way to the 1 yard line. First and goal at the 1. They hand it off to Kyren Williams. He gets stuffed. Second and goal at the 1. They go end around Jordan Whittington. Little jet sweep. Not an end around, a jet sweep from under center. And he's able to score. But there's a hold on Acuria, I believe is how you pronounce the Arcuri. The left tackle that was in when he shouldn't be in because of all the injuries. Arcuri gets called for the holding. Should it be a touchdown? Instead, it gets taken back 10 yards. And then on 3rd and 8 at the 8, Arcuri gets called for another offensive holding. It didn't really matter. But the moral of the story is this O-line is not the real Rams O-line. So many guys out. Then we lose guys in this game, right? So that was a huge turning point. A lot of people forget it should have been 17-17, but instead, because of the holding penalty, the Rams only get 3. It's 17-13. Now they then have the most impressive drive I've seen in a while from the Rams. 10 plays, 80 yards, 4.5 minutes, all sorts of unbelievable plays. I mean, Cooper Kupp was fantastic in this one, and he ends up converting with that touchdown like we talked about. But let's not forget a couple turning points, right? The holding there to cost a touchdown, the end zone interception by Stafford, and also the fourth down attempt that did not result in, obviously, a fourth down conversion. And that's really a position where I thought it was a no-brainer to kick the field goal and go up 6-3. Man, this is a long show. I don't even know how long this segment has been because the first one was way over time. But we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we'll talk about the defense a little bit more and also look forward to next week against the Cardinals after our last break here. And I'll get to some of your comments as well after our last break here on the Locked On Rams Postcast. Now, finally, today's show is brought to you by Game Time. I love Game Time. The story I always tell is earlier in the summer, I was in New York and I went to 2 events, thanks to Game Time, 2 sporting events, where I didn't even buy the ticket until I was on the subway on the way to the game. Literally, I went to a New York Liberty game where I was on the subway, hadn't even bought the ticket yet on Game Time, but because Game Time is amazing, I got the best deal right before the game. Same thing with the Yankees game a couple days later. Game Time, if you don't know what it is, it's an authorized ticket marketplace, and it has this new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. For example, if you're a Dodgers fan, I'm not. I'm an Angels fan. I do the Locked On Angels Postcast, but a great example was on Labor Day. They had a 50% off deal for Diamondbacks Dodgers on Labor Day. I mean, that's about as good as it gets, right? So that's just a great example of the type of stuff you can get. I also love they have the all-in pricing feature. If you toggle this feature, and you must toggle it, but if you do, it shows you the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. They also show you the view from your seat. There's the lowest price guarantee, Game Time ticket coverage, and so much more. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Back here live on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel. This is the Locked On Rams Postcast. I'm Gavin Carlson. The Rams fall 26-20 in overtime on Sunday Night Football against the Detroit Lions. I am heartbroken, and I'm also buzzing because this game was unbelievable. You know the excitement that comes with week 1 of the NFL season, the first Sunday, and we had a long wait to see our Rams. So the anticipation was extra, right? We didn't get to watch our team play at 10 a.m. or at 1 p.m. We had to wait till 5:30. And then we see this team overcome everything, come back from 17-3, go ahead late, all to give up a field goal, to send this one to overtime, all to lose the coin toss, all to lose the game. And so I'm talking faster than normal. I'm talking more than normal. I think I even saw a comment in there from somebody saying, yeah, Craig says Gavin loves to talk, and BC's laughing. I mean, obviously, it's my job to talk. Normally, I don't talk this fast and this long. Normally, it's a 30-minute show, but this is going to be like a 35, almost 40-minute show because there's just so much to talk about in this game. An unbelievable game, and it stinks. It really stinks that the Rams lost this one because this is the type of win that you talk about all season if you're able to pull it off, especially if you end up winning the division by 1 or sneaking in the wild card by 1. You remember this game as a win, and unfortunately, you'll still remember it now that it is a loss. If you don't make it to the playoffs by 1 game, or if you don't win the division by 1 game, you will remember this game. Puka Nacua, I have to talk about it. He got hurt. He left this game. A lot of people didn't notice it. I noticed it. On the first catch he made, he grimaced. He looked like he was uncomfortable. He went off to the sideline. Then a couple more times he gets hit. He looks uncomfortable. And finally, he ends up leaving this game on a cart. It is a knee injury. We're hoping that it's not something that's going to leave him out for a long time. It doesn't look like an ACL or something, thank goodness. Hopefully I'm not jinxing it, knock on wood. But at the end of the day, this team needs Puka Nacua. We know that. Demarcus Robinson is not good enough to be a number 2. We know Sean McVay is a genius. We know he was almost genius enough to will the Rams to a win in this one. Matthew Stafford is a genius as well. Cooper Kupp is unbelievable. But you need Puka Nacua. Craig says, what was the number 1 reason the Rams lost? I mean, the game went to overtime and you didn't touch the ball. So obviously the number 1 reason is going to be that you didn't touch the ball in overtime. You weren't able to stop the Lions offense in overtime. I mean, there's so many turning points in this game, like we just talked about for the last 30 minutes. The interception in the red zone, the failed fourth in the red zone. The Lions had a couple huge plays, even though they didn't play very well at all. The defense shut down Amon-Ra St. Brown. The defense shut down the run game for most of the game with how good that Lions offensive line is. Our offensive line was abysmal, and we were still able to put up 20 points. So many things happened in this game. I mean, like I said, the touchdown that was taken away with the hold, it was not a bad call or anything, but you're at the 1 yard line and you end up only getting a field goal. There's so many turning points. But at the end of the day, you gave up a field goal as time expired, basically, and then you didn't touch the ball in overtime. That's the number one reason the Rams lost. I'm trying to go deeper than that, though, Craig. That's why this is a 30-minute show. You know, people can give you fluff. They can send out one tweet saying the Rams lost this game because of that, right? But I try to give you the real nitty-gritty breakdown and talk about the thing that happened in the second quarter that you might forget when you only see what happens in overtime. You know, ESPN First Take tomorrow is only going to talk about Stafford was great, Kupp was great, Lions win in overtime, nice. But they're not going to talk about the hold at the 1 yard line. They're not going to talk about the decision to go for it on fourth down early in the game when it's 3-3. And that's what this is for. Real quick, we have to give a shout out to the defense one more time. The defense was great, okay? Amon-Ra St. Brown, one of the best receivers in the NFL. Maybe not, you know, in terms of stature. We know he's a small guy. But this is a guy that in the division game, he had 7 catches for 110 plus yards, I believe. 3 catches for 13 yards. 6 targets, 3 catches. Sam Laporta, only 4 for 45. Jameson Williams obviously has a huge game, but it came on a couple huge plays. He had that huge play right after the failed fourth down. I think the Lions went play action, hit him across the middle. Quentin Lake wasn't able to catch up to him. That's right. Just a good play call, a shot play right after a fourth down failed attempt by the Rams. And then obviously the play of the game probably is Jameson Williams absolutely destroys Tre'Davious White. Stop and go, wide open, 52-yard touchdown, even with Tre'Davious White trying to commit pass interference to hold him and not give up the huge touchdown. The defense was still very good, though, for the most part, stopping that. Also, before that huge drive from David Montgomery, it was Jahmyr Gibbs, 11 for 40 is the final stat line. David Montgomery, 17 for 91. Sure, they end up rushing 100 or getting 163 yards rushing. But only 217 from Goff. We have the pick. We're able to sack him twice. And the run game was actually not as dominant as you'd expect until overtime. So the defense deserves a lot of credit. I thought everybody looked good. Jared Verse gets his first career sack. Braden Fisk looked pretty good. Got in the backfield a couple times. John Johnson III with an unbelievable interception. I don't know how that ball didn't hit the ground. And Quentin Lake was probably the player of the game, in my opinion. 10 total tackles, 5 of them solo, absolutely flying all over the place. The linebackers were great too. Roseboom and Reeder combined for 17 tackles, 9 solo tackles combined. They exceeded expectations as well. The D-line, I thought, exceeded expectations as well. At the end of the day, the Tre'Davious White got burned. It was one of the bigger plays of the game. A tough personal foul on Cameron Kitchens. That really hurt for the rookie. But there's plenty to build on for this defense. I think there's a clear blueprint. It's hopefully get ahead and force the teams you're playing against to have to pass, where you can give your corners that are not great some safety help, right? If you're in situations where you got to go all out for runs or be really aggressive in the box because the game is close, because the team is running all over you, and make it hard, put Tre'Davious White in one-on-one situations, you're going to see what happened. You're going to see more of what happened today with him getting absolutely burned. But for the most part, encouraged by the defense. I'm encouraged by this team, all right? I said a lot in this show. I promise I probably will not talk this fast ever again on a Rams postcast. I'm just like really amped up because this was a crazy game. But if you take one thing from this, take this. As long as Puka Nacua is healthy, I feel better about the Rams tonight than I did coming into the year. The O-line is not the O-line we're going to see for most of this season. Injuries everywhere. If Puka Nacua is healthy, Cooper Kupp looks better than he has in recent years. Matthew Stafford still looks fine, and the defense looked better than we expected. Can you ask for anything else other than getting the win? No. And of course, I don't want to be Mr. Moral victory guy. I want us to win this game so bad, and we arguably deserve to win this game more than the Lions. We lost in overtime in a heartbreaker, but as long as Puka Nacua is okay, I leave this game feeling fine about the Rams Obviously, it's hard to, you lose the first game, you're instantly in a hole. But I think we're going to beat the Cardinals next week. I know the Cardinals really pushed the Bills. They really did. But I think the Rams are almost as good as the Bills. Arguably, if the O-line is healthy, maybe a better offense than the Bills, and the defense looks like it's just as good. I mean, the Rams defense really exceeded expectations. So I think we're going to beat the Cardinals next week. I think we're certainly a playoff team still. I think we're still a peak of NFC championship contender, but at least make it to the division round, something like that. I am feeling better about the Rams than coming into the year, believe it or not worse. They really impressed me despite all the odds they had to overcome, and they almost won this game. They probably should have won this game. But with all that being said, we're going to wrap this one up. It's late. It's 9:30 plus. This game went into overtime. It was already Sunday Night Football, so I appreciate all of you that were able to watch this one live. But if you're watching this one, whether it's live or after the fact, or if you're listening on the Locked On Rams podcast feed, no matter what, leave a like and comment if you're on YouTube. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you're on YouTube, leave a 5-star rating on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this one on. And also go ahead, please tweet me at Gavin Carlson _ on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Let me know your thoughts on this show. Let me know your thoughts on the game. Are you as encouraged by this team as I am, even despite the loss? And what are your thoughts on the overtime rules? I went into that. Tell me if I'm crazy. Don't say I'm salty. You can say I'm wrong, but don't say I'm salty and then I'm just saying that because the Rams lost, because I genuinely believe the overtime rules are better. But with all that being said, I'll let you go. Thank you so much for watching this first ever regular season edition of the Locked On Rams Postcast. Once again, I am Gavin Carlson. The Rams fall to the Detroit Lions 26-20. I'll be back here live directly after the Rams-Cardinals game next week. So, of course, be on the lookout for that. I'll be doing Angels Postcast throughout the week, as always. The UCLA Postcast on Saturday as well. But yes, make sure you're back here after the Rams-Cardinals game next week on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel. Thank you, Ramley. Tough loss. Keep your head up. Don't let it affect your week, and we'll be better next week. We will win next week. I confidently say that. Take care, everybody. Have a great night, and as always, go Rams. I'll see you next week.